Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for college football Week 9. Of course, this is a very popular show where we get some behind-the-scenes betting information from Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. He tells us about the public action that he's taken and the sharp action and the games with a notable volume. Brent, thanks for being back with us.
Good to be with you, Peter.
All right, a lot of interesting games this week. There's always more games that I want to ask you about, but I narrow it down to 4. The first one I have to ask you about, Ole Miss and LSU, right? LSU as a home underdog, very, very rare betting situation, and I'm wondering, is this? I mean, the line's kind of interesting. Is the public coming in on LSU as a home dog? Normally, they like to take good teams as a favorite, but here I'm going to guess the public's on LSU.
You would be wrong there, Peter.
Really? Okay.
Really? Yeah, no, my count on this one is about 2-1 in favor of Mississippi.
Okay.
And the only sharp action I took on the side was LSU +4. So I've got sharp money on LSU. I've got public money carrying Mississippi. And we're probably going to be needing LSU, which will be a good thing as long as the sharps come through.
So so then you would label this game as one with a notable sharp public split?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, too. I mean, I don't know, LSU just this year, I don't know. I'm just not sold on them, not even in this spot. But yeah, I mean the sharps are with them, so I'm not going to argue with those guys.
All right, and then another SEC game with a big road favorite, Mississippi State, Kentucky. Mississippi State, of course, the number 1 ranked team in the country. But does the public always respond to number 1 ranked teams, or do they only respond when like a big, huge name program is number 1, like Alabama or Notre Dame? If Mississippi State's the number 1 ranked team in the country, will they still pile in on them as a road favorite here? I mean, if ever they would, they're off a bye. They're like 5-1 against the spread on the year, and the line is just 14. So I'm going to guess yes, the public is on Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's one of those games where, I mean, the thing with Kentucky is they've been identified, a few weeks now that where sharps are kind of picking their spots with them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're 5-2 overall. They're just not a bad team, and they're at home catching 2 touchdowns. I will say on this game, like my count is about 1.5 times in favor of Mississippi State. So yeah, I mean the public is slightly favoring them, but my money's pretty much dead even, and I've got even from the sharps I've got decent two-way action. Mm-hmm. The sharp money on Mississippi State came -13.5. The sharp money I got on Kentucky was +14.5. So we're sitting at -14 right now. I mean, you talk about how we get to the number that we're at. That pretty much explains it right there when you got sharps on both sides of the game.
All right, so the sharps are split. And it's just my sense is that if this were Alabama, if you had the exact same players, the exact same record, but it were Alabama instead of Mississippi State, the public would be all over it no matter what the number was, even if it was like -20.
You're probably right there, Peter.
Okay, Brent, and then once again, I'm going to ask you about the TCU game this week. TCU, one of the most interesting teams in all of college football this year. Of course, you've told us for a bunch of weeks the Sharps took TCU to win the Big 12 and the national championship. And then 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago, you told us that the Sharps were all over TCU, and they did cover. And then last week, Sharps were thinking that might be a down week for TCU. There was early sharp action betting against them. Of course, they were off of 2 tough games. They wound up getting an easy, huge cover, though. So the Sharps, 2-1 over the past 3 weeks with TCU, dead wrong last week. And, if they could get a big cover last week as a favorite, why can't they do it again? The line is up to 23 here against Texas Tech. Are the Sharps now ignoring TCU, or are they coming in one way or another on this one?
Well, the line got to 23 because the Sharps were laying 20.5 and 21 on TCU. Okay. So they I guess they kind of, rectified their position and, they were wrong. I did get kind of respectable money, like we'll call it a big bet back on Texas Tech when the line got to 23.5, but 20.5 and 21 were definitely sharp action on TCU. My money's pretty much even just because of the one big bet I took on Texas Tech, but my count favors TCU as well.
All right, so if you can recall, last week you told us that you got a big sharp action early in the week, fading TCU, closer to kickoff. Did you wind up getting sharp action on TCU the other way, or did they stick with Oklahoma State?
I think like when we did the show last week, we were at -10 on TCU. Line closed last week -10, so I think it kind of just balanced off after we did the show. Right. If you want to talk about last week, the sharp plays that we identified did go 7-3, so I'm glad you brought that up, Peter.
Yeah, sure. Hey, good for the Sharps. Congratulations, Sharp guys. Enjoy your money from last week.
For the people who follow them or perhaps stayed away from something that might have gone south for them.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks, as always, for your information, Brent. All right, so with this TCU game, I'm wondering, is the public also starting to come in on them? Because I'm sure they're noticing that they're covering and winning big week after week, 6-0 against the spread. So is this just sharp action, or is there also public action and you have big action one way on TCU here?
There's public action on TCU as well. And the thing, too, is it's not just that the fact that they're winning and they're kind of like a team who came out of nowhere, but they're also kind of, I mean, they put up a lot of points. I mean, that shootout with Baylor last week, the weeks before. I mean, they just can score a lot of, they can score a lot of points. So it's kind of fun to watch. If you count the parlays, teasers, straights, and everything all together, it's about 3-1 in favor of TCU. So definitely the public is with the sharps on TCU this week.
All right, and then the last game I want to ask you about specifically, Alabama, Tennessee. We already discussed Mississippi State, Kentucky with a similar matchup, similar line, and Alabama has been in general, overvalued this year. The public, if they've been betting them, has been losing overall, 2-5 against the spread, but they are coming off of one of their old-fashioned classic Alabama ass kickings, and I'm wondering if that one-game result is enough to drive the public all onto Alabama here as, again, a 17-point road favorite against Tennessee. Is that the case?
Yeah, the count's really big in favor of Alabama, like just in terms of the number of wagers we've taken. The total number of wagers is about 4 times higher on Alabama than Tennessee. Mm-hmm. We're sitting at 17 right now. We took sharp money on Alabama when the line was 16. We took sharp money back at Tennessee. Now it's mostly public money who's carrying the line. They're keeping it at 17. I mean, the sharps came back in on Tennessee. We probably moved back down to 16.5, but the public will be all over Alabama again at 16.5. So we're probably pretty comfortable sitting where we are. Like I said, our count's about 4-1 in favor of Alabama. Our money's in favor of Alabama as well too, just because there's the overwhelming number of parties and teasers. On straight bets, it's not that bad, but the public has definitely jumped on Alabama again.
All right, and two-way sharp action on this one again.
Yeah, and again, it's all about the number.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go back to 16, we'll get sharp action again on Alabama, I'm sure. If we went, it's 17.5, boom, it'll come on Tennessee.
Amazing how those small line movements, are enough to get the sharp action to kick in.
Yeah, no, I always kind of, I'm one of those squares, I guess, when you sit there, you take a look at a game and, the sharps will take, Georgia State minus 18. And if I got to lay 18.5, I'll say, what the heck? Sure, I'll lay 18.5. What's the big deal? It's not like it's not like it's going to land until it lands.
Yeah, and the sharp, those points do, I guess, matter long term, especially if you're betting huge amounts like the sharp guys do. All right, so that's all I wanted to get to in terms of specific games that I want to ask you about. What can you tell us about notable action from the rest of the Week 9 college football card, Brent?
There's a lot of games this week, which you kind of strange. Like we touched on Mississippi State, Kentucky, where I got, it's all about the number. It seems I got sharp action minus 13.5, and then plus 14 both ways. We just talked about Alabama, Tennessee, same thing. The 16 and 17, I got it both ways. North Carolina, Virginia, the plus 7 on North Carolina, the minus 6, minus 15 on Virginia, both ways. Maryland, Wisconsin, plus 11, minus 10. Just a ton of games this week that are like that. I do have a few sharp plays to identify for sure. First off will be in the Vandy, Missouri game. I've got sharp action on the total going on the under. Right now, Vandy and Missouri was sitting at 42 at the total. Sharp action came there at 43.5. Kent State at Miami of Ohio. Right now, Miami, Ohio, minus 7. Line open at 4.5. I took sharp action right away. Up to 6, took sharp action there. 6.5, took more sharp action. So here we are sitting at 7 right now. So Miami, Ohio, definitely a sharp side. We touched on TCU being sharp. LSU plus 4 was definitely sharp. The total in USC Utah, that one's really moved on us. I got a ton of money on the under there, just a little bit starting to come back over. Now that we dropped all the way down to 52, it's starting to come over. But the under 57 was sharp. 53.5 was sharp. We're sitting at 52 right now, but I got a couple of different sharps both on the under in that game. That's USC at Utah, lines down at 52 right now. Oklahoma State, sharp side. I got Oklahoma State at a pick, and plus 1 was sharp. They're at home to West Virginia. Right now, Oklahoma State is minus 1, but pick and plus 1, Oklahoma State was sharp. And down to Hawaii. Hawaii's a really sharp side. I got money plus 3.5. Plus 3 minus 05, plus 3 minus 10. We're sitting at Nevada minus 3, dog 20 right now. So Nevada minus 3, dog 20, but the sharp action was all on Hawaii. It was plus 3.5 and plus 3 minus 05, stuff like that. So yeah, I got I'm going to say 1, 2, I got 3 different sharps all on Hawaii.
All right, let me ask you about that Oklahoma State-West Virginia game, though, because, the early line movement on that was in favor of West Virginia. I think it opened at 3 market wide, and they took a big jump down to 1, but you're saying that movement wasn't caused by sharp action, and I guess that was big public action?
Well, I get just a ton of bets. Let me just look on my big screen. I got money on both sides, basically every number. And with West Virginia, when it was, they kept taking the 3, the 2.5, the 2, the 1, kind of flipping, and the sharps are back on the other way. But the guys who, like I said, it's when guys bet a number for a max bet, and when you're opening the numbers, we take three is the max bet when you open up 3 times. So you take a 3-time bet, you move a half point. I mean, right. if you kind of look at the anatomy of the line, it was 2.5, it was 2, it was 1.5, it was 1, it was a pick. It just kind of it rolled that way, and then now it's rolling back the other way in terms of favoring Oklahoma State. So the money that was sharp is on Oklahoma State for sure.
So that's all it takes to move your opening lines at BetDSI is just a 3-9 bet. We'll bump a number down for 3 to 2.5.
Well, it depends who it comes from. If it comes from you, we'll probably stay on the number.
All right, Brent. All right, yeah, I set myself up for that one. I put the softball right on the tee and you bash it out of the park. All right, Brent. Nice one there. All right, well, thanks so much. As always, appreciate all the awesome information, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow for NFL Week 8.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.